Hi, I'm Marsha Roscoe, leading the Breathing in Christ community since 2013. Breathing in Jesus, examining what's most important to live into our desire to love God, ourselves, and others deeper. Genesis 2:7 tells us that God's holy breath forms us. Are you ready to consciously connect to Christ one breath at a time? Are you ready to honor every aspect of your life, what you say, what you think and do, as sacred encounters with God and others? Breathing in Christ discovers the life God intends and is here to help you align your habits and your behaviors with God's love. Because after all, how we live is how we love. Again, this is Marsha Roscoe, and welcome to the Breathing in Christ community.
We know that beginnings are important. Beginnings are the mark of transformation, change, new intentions. And here we are at a new year, a new beginning. And often there's a lot of pressure that go around New Year's resolutions. But years ago, I accepted the fact that resolutions just simply do not work for me. However, intention setting has become a life-changing practice. And so as we embrace a new year, I invite us to think about the intentions that we have. An intention is basically a guiding principle for how you want to be, how you want to live, how you want to show up in the world, whether it's at work, in relationships, your prayer life, really any area of your life. Getting intentional is a really important part of our spiritual growth. Our lives are full of choices, and the vast majority are choices that we make subconsciously. And this happens because the pace of our society runs us on autopilot, and this leaves most of our daily choices without any kind of conscious thought. Most days, by the time we arrive to lunch, we have flown through thousands of choices, unaware that we have made most of them. Our busy days are filled with relentless demands, unrealistic expectations, and excessive noise. And so if we aren't careful, our rushed pace and excessive noise override the intentions of our hearts and our minds. Intentional living is purposeful living. And when we set intentions, we pay much closer attention to the thoughts and behaviors that we experience every day. Every minute of every day, we are faced with the choices between love and evil, silence or speaking, open or closed, acceptance or refusal, humility or pride, grace or judgment, compassion or denial. You get the idea, right? And there is this growing interest in mindfulness, and more people are becoming aware of intentions. I invite us to think about the variety of scriptures that call us to be intentional, that call us to carefully curate our hearts, our minds. Think about Joshua 24:15. Choose this day whom you will serve. Colossians 3:2. Set your mind on things that are above, not on things that are on earth. Philippians 4:8 about fixing your thoughts on whatever is true, whatever is honorable, just, pure, pleasing, commendable. If there is any excellence in anything worthy of praise, think about these things. So one of the reasons that I find intention setting so important is because our mind significantly affects the way we see the world, interpret our lives, and notice Christ's presence. So I love in the Message translation, the scriptures that we have in Galatians chapter 6, verses 4 and 5. Make a careful exploration of who you are and the work you have been given, and then sink yourself into that. Don't be impressed with yourself. Don't compare yourself with others. Each of you must take responsibility for doing the creative best you can with your own life. I love that. Take responsibility for doing the creative best you can with your own life. And so I know you've heard me say this before, but Richard Rohr tells us that how we see is what we see, And that's a clear message that we get from Jesus. And so if we see God as a private evacuation plan, then we see God as a fire escape. But if we see God as a love encounter, then we see God for who God is. And so essentially what we see drives what we do. And so I'd like to share a true personal story that reinforces this notion that what we see drives our reactions, our experiences, what we do. So, true confession, one of my lifelong intentions is to see people as human beings before seeing them as a problem. And this is not always easy. But I'd like to tell you about Willie, who taught me a few things about Christ's love. So in my former call serving a congregation, I got to know and love Willie. Willie was a poverty-stricken veteran experiencing schizophrenia. Willie visited the church almost every weekday morning on his regimented walk through town. Willie enjoyed being with people more than being home alone. But here's the reality. Willie rarely showered. He was a chain smoker. He spoke really loud. He had absolutely no sense of personal space. You could see, you could smell and hear Willie before you saw him. And when I first met Willie, this is exactly how I saw him, through the lenses of smell and sound, not from the heart. Uncomfortable with his behavior and smell, it was so easy to distract myself and go the other way to avoid the discomfort. Then, one Sunday, while leading worship, in walks Willie. I had just finished preaching, and here comes Willie walking down the center aisle. The ushers are kind of looking at me, trying to decide whether or not to stop him. They tried to invite him to sit down, but Willie just wanted to approach the altar to hand me his offering. His cupped hands were filled with coins. He was beaming with gratitude. And in those moments of worship, God opened my eyes to see Willie as God sees him. A beloved child of God. That was Willie's starting point, not his smell or his loud demeanor. Yet throughout the week, I had not been willing to see Willie as a human being. Willie embodied Christ. And thankfully, in those moments of worship, our relationship changed forever. Even though Willie was a regular recipient of our food bank, he himself made donations almost daily. He would scrounge up whatever change he had in his pocket. He would stop by the local convenience store right next to the church. He would drop his change on their counter and ask the clerk what he could buy for others. He would leave straight from the convenience store to the church, where he arrived beaming with his abundance. You see, Willie gave freely from his heart. This is a true servant of Christ. Willie taught me how to do this just a little bit better. This was a painfully beautiful lesson for me on what we see is how we see. And intentions matter. And when we ask ourselves what matters most, then our intentions allow us to align our thoughts, our attitudes, and our behaviors accordingly. If we believe and profess that Jesus is important, then intention and action are needed. No more excuses. No more waiting for Jesus to knock at the door. Jesus is already here, waiting for us to inhale the beauty of life. And life is made up of choices. Choices that can notice God and create the experiences of everyday, ordinary living. What intentions are God seeking from us? In this new year, I pray that we focus on whatever is true, honorable, just, pure, pleasing, commendable, and all those things that are worthy of God's praise. And if you would like an intention-setting worksheet, I invite you to email me at marsharoscoe@breathinginchrist.com, and I'll send you the form that we have created to help you focus on your body, mind, and spirit. But as beginnings are important, also are endings. And as we end 2020, I want to thank you for being a part of the Breathing in Christ community. Yes, it has been a challenging year. However, God has been and continues to be at work, and I am so grateful for this community who strives to love God deeper and enjoy our moments and our days breathing deep in Christ. May God bless you and your intention setting for 2021.